Upside down or right side up? That's the question for today. Perhaps someone here can fill me in as to whether or not it's true that if you stand on your head for long enough, initially seeing everything upside down and inverted, then your mind will gradually do a flip-flop in its interpretation of what you are looking at, and you will learn to see everything as if it were right side up again, even though you're still standing on your head. Whether or not that be true, it's certainly true that there are many things in the world today that are near opposites to God's will. Yet we are so used to living in those ways that we come to accept them as normal. Most of us have heard the popular expression that describes something new and strange as the new normal. After we've readjusted and become used to it, it's the new normal. There are many behaviors and practices that go unchallenged, even though we know that God would have us do something to change them. It might be said that one reason why Jesus came from God to live among us was to turn an upside down world right side up again from its inverted ways of doing things. However, something like a person standing on his or her head, the world has been doing some things upside down for so long that many of those things seem normal to us and okay when they are really not okay. The status quo in our world is far from looking like the kingdom or the reign of God in many respects. There are always glimmers of hope here and there, but there is a very long distance yet to go. Long before the birth of Jesus, 6th and 7th century prophet Jeremiah cited the great difference between living life following God and living life as though there were no God, simply following mere mortals or mere people left to themselves. Jeremiah warned, harm, misfortune, and affliction, he used the word curses, will come to you if you place your trust in mere people, or mere mortals as he called us, while your hearts turn away from the Lord. Your life will be like a shrub in the desert, living in the parched places of the wilderness. Unquote. You'll get it all upside down from the way it should be and could be if you trust in mere mortals to know the way to live. You'll get it all wrong. On the other hand, Jeremiah added these words, blessed or happy are you if you trust in the Lord to know how to live, and then you will be like a tree planted by the water, whose leaves stay green even during times of drought. Or as I'm inclined to say, if you follow the Lord to know how to live, you'll get it the way it should be, right side up. And you will live well even through tough, difficult times. Very simply, God knows best is our statement of faith. Even though God's best for people is often ignored and overlooked or rejected, God's will is still the best. And look at the message of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke this morning, chapter 6. In so many words it tells us, blessed and happy are people when their lives are free from preoccupation with acquiring the world's luxuries, who instead find their wealth and their greatest meaning in life to be in acquiring a rich relationship with God. In the long run, a rich relationship with God leads to rich relationships with people around you. And altogether, these all lead to a wonderful place of lasting community and durable satisfaction and joy that no temporary wealth or temporary luxury can ever replace or provide. English theologian P.T. Forsyth once expressed a similar thought when he wrote these words, quote, if within us we have nothing that is above us, we soon succumb to what is around us. Related to this, Forsyth also wrote, the first duty of every living soul is to find not its freedom, but rather its master. The Bible emphasizes over and over that our choice of who is our master, our guide, our higher power, our heavenly mother and father God and creator of us all, our Lord and our God, our personal choice about that is a decision and a commitment of central importance to our individual lives and our communal lives with one another. If we are to understand life and get it right side up, rather than misunderstanding or putting it upside down, we need to find the right authority over and within us. Every newborn child from the very beginning of life in the fresh air needs someone to look up to, someone to depend upon, someone to trust, and someone who gives guidance and discipline and support as expressions of love. It is no less true as faithful adults that you and I need someone you can look up to, someone you can depend upon, someone you can trust with what is on your mind and in your heart, and someone who gives you guidance, discipline, and support as expressions of divine love. That someone for us all is Jesus the Christ. And all of what we know of God through knowing and following Him, studying the Bible and praying regularly and being in a faithful fellowship with one another. Remember Prophet Jeremiah's words? He writes, they whose trust is in the Lord shall be like a tree planted by water with leaves that stay green even in droughts. John Kenneth Galbraith was a well-known Canadian-American economist of the 20th century. He taught at Harvard and Princeton, as well as serving in multiple presidential administrations over the years. I first learned of his work when taking a course of economics at college. In his autobiography, Galbraith tells an anecdote about his father's housekeeper, Emily Gloria Wilson. He asked Emily to hold all telephone calls one day while he took a much-needed nap. And then, of course, as the case might be, the phone rang. It was Lyndon Johnson, the president, calling from the White House. Get me Ken Galbraith. This is Lyndon Johnson. He's sleeping, Mr. President. He said not to disturb him. Well, wake him up. I want to talk to him, the president replied. Emily's reply was, no, I'm sorry, Mr. President. I work for him, not for you. Speaking truth to power. The question is, when folks around you, or more generally the world of business as usual around you, pressures you to knowingly compromise the will of God in your life, are you able to say, no, I work for God, not you? Can you, when it is called for, put aside social, economic, political, and prejudices, political prejudices of various kinds, and simply do what is right in the eyes of God, whether it makes you popular or not? Remember P.T. Forsyth's point, if within us we have nothing above us, we soon succumb to what is around us. Do you succumb to what is around you when you should not? Or does there live within you a decision about who you should be living and following for and working for and serving? A decision and commitment that keeps you strong and steady and clear about who you are and whom you serve with your life and its blessings. Even when being faithful to this relationship you have with God threatens your popularity or causes someone not to think well of you. Or as Luke chapter 6 verse 22 says, when people hate you, exclude you, revile you, and defame you because you believe in serving God and neighbor, do you say, no, I don't work for you, but I work for God? Christian Herter, governor of Massachusetts in 1953 through 57, campaigning to run for a second term, told the story of attending a church barbecue. And when it came to his turn in line, the woman dishing out chicken placed one piece on each plate as people walked by, and he asked for a second piece. But the woman said, I'm sorry, but there's only one piece per person. Usually a relatively modest, unassuming man, Governor Herter must have had more than the usual appetite that day, because he asked, do you know who I am? I'm the governor of Massachusetts. To which came the reply with a friendly smile, and do you know who I am? I am the lady in charge of the chicken. Now, please move along. And why do we enjoy that story? I think because we know there is something good and right about that woman's sizing up of the situation, that no one is more important than anyone else at a chicken barbecue, nor does his public status or any other status or economic, political, social, or ethnic set of values set them above or below others in God's valuing of human life. God's way of seeing things is a wonderful way and the right way, though we all must admit there are many conflicts between the choices made in this world in relationship with God's revealed will. We can only humbly thank God with all of the decision, faith, and commitment that we can humanly muster for the fact that God holds out forgiveness to us for the times we fall flat on our faith, flat on our face and faith. And then God reaches out to all who reach out to God to try again and to grow better when we have failed before. Luciano Pavarotti, the famous tenor, tells the story of a decision he made in his early years. His father, a baker, urged Luciano to develop his voice under the tutelage of a professional tenor, Arrigo Pola, in Modena, Italy. And later, upon graduating from Teachers College, Luciano struggled with the decision to be a teacher or a singer. His father's reply was, Luciano, if you try to sit on two chairs at the same time, you will fall between them. You must choose one chair. Pavarotti chose the one we all know. His decision and commitment brought him through 7 years before his first professional engagement, plus 7 more years before singing at the Metropolitan Opera. You know, life is full of parables like that. When it comes to making a decision as major as choosing whom you will choose to follow in this life, as well as in the life yet to come, you must choose one chair and become committed to it to find out what the fruits of that decision will be. There are many ways you can go with your life. Some bring blessings and some bring woes, is what the Bible tells us today. There is no such thing as being too late in choosing to be a disciple of Christ. The way of Christ brings the deepest blessings of life that life has to offer, both in good times and in difficult times. A life of blessings begins as soon as you choose the one chair, the one in whose life God comes to us up close and personal in the person and spirit of Jesus. As you and I make the daily choice, the choice of making every effort to be a faithful disciple in his name, and see what happens. Walking, talking, and living each day in an ever richer relationship with Christ gradually turns the upside-down world right side up. And you come to see things in a new light and in ways you never saw them before.